Greetings, everybody. Gleekon here again with another episode of Lore of Warcraft. This is a very special episode because if you stay a while and listen to The Last Guardian here today, we will finally be done with Chronicles Volume 1, a journey that we started almost 6 months ago at the beginning of this show. We've read some other things in the meantime. About half the show is devoted to some of those other longer chapters, but still it feels like a big point because we're now only 45 years before the Dark Portal. Now a lot can happen in 45 years, and a lot will, which is why we have to open up Chronicle 2, and why we will also be reading Rise of the Horde and part, if not all, of The Last Guardian. But this is a milestone for sure, and anybody that's made it this far, I appreciate you coming along on the ride with me. I've had a good time. All right, so here we go, Last Guardian. Far from Stormwind, the Council of Tristful continued its tireless hunt for the renegade guardian Aegwynn. Waves of unflagging Tiras guards scoured the world to find Aegwynn and hold her accountable for her defiance. Aegwynn, however, remained safe in her sanctum, deep within the sunken ruins of ancient Suramar. Only rarely did she emerge to walk the outside world. At times, she would contact the Council of Tristful and observe its activities. Much to her dismay, she found that its practice of interfering with politics had become more overt and troublesome. Now the Council of Tristful was actively practicing statecraft. It was during one of these sessions that Aegwynn crossed paths with Nielis Aran, one of the most dogged and unrelenting Tiras guard ever. He hounded the Guardian for months, using the enchanted artifacts at his command to nullify her magic and hamper her attempts to escape his grasp. These fierce encounters became like a game of wills and wits between Nielis and Aegwynn. I feel like that's a pretty cool story material as well. Like you could get a comic out of that or something. During their protracted duels, the opponents bantered back and forth, seeking insights into each other's strengths and weaknesses. To Aegwynn's surprise, she discovered that Nielis harbored misgivings about the Council of Tristful. He was well aware of the Order's political machinations, activities that he did not condone. Nielis realized that Aegwynn was not the traitorous rebel that the Council of Tristful had made her out to be. As he discerned more about the Guardian's own motivations, he began to sympathize with her plight. Nielis also sensed that Aegwynn was wrestling with some unseen darkness in her soul. But for all of his brilliance, he would never know that this darkness was actually the lingering presence of Sargeras. Hoping to help Aegwynn overcome her struggle, Nielis laid down his arms and abandoned his hunt. Okay. Before long, an unexpected love blossomed between the two former enemies. They agreed that they would work together to prevent the Council of Tristful from ever having control over another Guardian. Knowing she could not maintain her mantle of guardianship forever, Aegwynn proposed a solution to Nielis. They would bear a child, capable of inheriting Aegwynn's Tiras powers. I think that's the first time we've referred to those powers as the Tiras powers. Only then could a new Guardian arise free from the Council of Tristful's manipulation. Okay. Nielis readily agreed, because tonight is the night for love. Seeing this plan as a redemptive act for Aegwynn, if she could not purge the darkness within herself, then perhaps she could create an heir who would be free from her own personal burdens. In time, Aegwynn gave birth to a son. She named him Medivh, or Keeper of Secrets in the High Elven tongue. The infant possessed an incredible affinity for magic, a natural gift passed down from his parents. Aegwynn also locked her powers away within the boy's spirit, where they would linger until Medivh reached maturity. There was, however, something much darker in Medivh. The lurking spirit of Sargeras stirred in the child's soul. Though Aegwynn did not know it, the Demon Lord had possessed the infant while he formed in her womb. Aegwynn and Nielis searched far and wide for a safe place where Medivh could be raised. They ultimately settled on Stormwind due to its isolated location and tenuous ties with Dalaran and the other northern nations. There, Nielis became the official conjurer of Stormwind's royal court. Having secured a future for her son, Aegwynn left Medivh in the care of Nielis. He would educate and tutor the boy in the ways of the arcane arts until the time came when Medivh assumed the role of guardian. Aegwynn herself departed Stormwind, retiring from her duties as guardian. The long centuries had taken their toll on her, and she could bear no more. She disappeared from sight, but always she would watch her beloved son from afar. Nielis's role as official court conjurer meant that the young Medivh was also a part of the royal court. As the boy grew older, he spent much of his time in the company of two other notable children, Anduin Lothar, a descendant of the Arathi bloodline, and Lane Rin, the Prince of Stormwind. Despite their penchant for mischief and adventure, the three children were adored by the kingdom's populace, and I would imagine that's the trio that The Last Guardian is focused on. So yeah, you have Lothar, who forms the knighthood, and then you have obviously Lane Rin, who is the ruler of Stormwind for a lot of the first few expansions anyway. I think there's a couple. I'm trying to remember. I know it's been Anduin for a little while now, for a few expansions. I want to say since around Warlords of Draenor, give or take. Definitely not give, because in Mists of Pandaria he was not. And there may have been some temporary, like, interstitial readers. I think maybe possibly Gen Greymane. I know he's been like a second in command for a while. Anyway, that's something we'll get through. Same thing with the Horde. There's just so much change in leadership that I don't even remember which ones came where. Okay. Medivh cherished his friendship with Anduin and Lane, for their activities were often an escape from Nielis's intensive tutoring. Although Medivh excelled in the arcane arts, his father rarely gave him practice. He was a cold and mirthless mentor, constantly pushing his son to achieve more. Nielis eventually revealed why he placed such a burden on Medivh. He told his son of the Council of Tristful, the line of the Guardians, and Medivh's own secret heritage. Nielis claimed that one day the boy would assume the role of the Guardian. The fate of the entire world would then rest squarely on his shoulders. No pressure, no biggie. The pressures of his destiny and his exhausting studies tormented Medivh's thoughts. The mounting anxiety led to disastrous consequences when the boy finally came of age. On the eve of his 14th birthday, the stress building within Medivh ignited his dormant guardian powers. Fevered dreams assaulted the youth as the Tirisfallen energies howled to be unleashed. Yeah, 14's a tough age. Nielis struggled desperately to help his son, but the incredible powers within Medivh lashed out, killing his father. Thereafter, the boy fell into a deep coma. For many years, he lay unconscious in Stormwind's Northshire Abbey, tended to by clerics and watched over by his faithful friends Anduin and Lane. And a lot of that is covered, I think, even in like the game manuals and in-game lore and stuff like that. The fact that he was in a coma and a lot of the stuff is covered. When Medivh finally awoke, he found the world had changed around him. Lane was poised to succeed his father Baratheon as the king of Stormwind. Anduin Lothar had become a knight in Stormwind's military. As Medivh gradually acclimated to his new life, he recognized the awesome power at his fingertips and resolved to use it to protect the world from evil. Despite his strange coma, he appeared normal, and he assured the clerics that nothing was amiss. Even Medivh himself was unaware that Sargeras was still hiding within his soul, subtly twisting his every thought and action to a much darker end. At long last, the fallen Titan had found the perfect instrument with which to begin the Legion's next invasion of Azeroth. To be continued in Chronicles Volume 2. So, in the War of the Ancients, we saw that he used the Well of Eternity. Okay, they destroyed that. In Northrend, he had his demons feeding him the power of dragons, and it wasn't enough to have him invade, but it was enough to get his avatar there. And now he's found the Super Saiyan Medivh, and he's like a perfect conduit. And that's how we know that he's the key to everything, the creating of the Dark Portal and all this stuff. But that's also what leads to the orcs being able to come over through, what's his name, the Gul'dan. Okay, we'll pick up on the next one, and we'll find out what's been happening for the past few thousand years on Draenor. That leads to we have to build up all the races, because there's still a lot of races that are not on Azeroth. We have the orcs, notably. You have ogres. We don't have the Draenor on Azeroth yet. We have had them in the form of the Eridar. They actually won't come over until Burning Crusade anyhow, so that's a while, but there are little things. Just little things like in creations of entire races. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening. This episode's in the pipe. This book is in the pipes 5x5. I'll see you guys on the next episode of Lore of Warcraft.